All right, guys. Look, obviously, you guys probably all seen we made a number of roster moves today to get our roster down to 53. There's a lot that happens over the course of the next 24, 48 hours, really all the way up, through the first game of the season, and certainly it doesn't change. It slows down a little bit as the season moves along, but there's constant flow of roster changes and moves that get made, and so I probably won't comment specifically on a lot of our roster moves or who we're trying to bring back or any of that type of stuff, because there's a lot that goes on over the course of the next few days. So.
On one guy, you got Rico Payton, just kind of the overall thoughts on preseason he had, the camp he had, the growth.
Yeah, I thought he did some good things. Young guy, did some good things on special teams. Yeah, I thought he impressed us in a few things.
You guys kept Nick Saldivari without an IR designation or anything. Does that speak well to your projected timetable on him? Or?
Yeah, I'm hopeful that we'll have him back soon.
How difficult is today like today having to say goodbye to some of these players?
Yeah, it's probably that today and the exit meeting days are probably the toughest 2 days that we have in the NFL. There's a lot of guys that put a lot of time, energy, effort into trying to make this a career. And we invest a lot in all of these players. Every one that we release today, we won't be able to bring all those guys back, and yet every single one of them, gave their heart and soul to me, to this organization, to this team, and yeah, it's not easy. I'm appreciative of what they do.
How do you?
What went into your punting decision?
Yeah, I think, look, as with a number of these battles, they were tight, tough decisions. And I think ultimately, a couple of factors. Hayball's younger. I think he's got a little bit more leg talent. And I think over the course of the last couple of weeks of practice, he was probably a little bit more consistent than Lou. And look, I had a good conversation with Lou. I think he'll be punting in our league again. So.
How do you handle the backup quarterback situation going forward? Like such a unique young room. Like, do you tell them there's a 2 and 3, or is it still?
Yeah, look, they're still competing, and I really want that to be that way throughout the course of the season, that those guys are coming out here every day and they're competing. It's a healthy competition. I think both those guys have done well. And so I'm not in any way ready to make any sort of statement or comment or declaration, anything of that nature. We'll just let those guys keep coming out and working and practicing and getting better. And here's the deal. With both of those players, both of them, we've got to develop. And so we've got to find ways to get reps for these guys, whether it be on the show team or whether it be, extra sessions with some of the, young skill guys, things of that nature. Like they're going to have to continue to work to develop. I think that's probably the most unique thing and probably the bigger challenge of all this is that we have two young guys that need work, that need to develop, and there's only so many snaps you can get throughout the course of a week. So that'll be our challenge.
Did the team generally get younger? Is your 53 generally younger than maybe it has been years past?
I don't know. I mean,
it wasn't like a point of emphasis or anything.
No, it was really about, there's a lot of things that go into making roster decisions and roster management and that type of stuff. And so I do know that, look, there was a number of young players that made the team. There's a number of undrafted free agent players that are on, the initial 53-man roster. So I think we did kind of as we normally do. We go through the, analyzing the roster and make the decision on what we think is the right 53 for our team.
Mason Tipton is another one of those. Even though he didn't get to play in a preseason game, how was he able to show you enough before that?
Yeah, look, I mean, obviously with him not participating in preseason games, that's something that I wish that we could have seen, but I felt like he did enough in the time that he was out there that warranted, a spot on the 53.
Did anyone end up catching your eye at safety for that spot opposite Matthew? Is that still open?
Yeah, I think. Well, I know we know what we're doing. Again, I'm not going to make any declarations on anything. We're getting closer to game week, guys. So, any type of decisions like that, we're going to kind of keep that close to the vest. I hope you appreciate that.
Sure. Let me just ask it a different way. Try to ask it a different way.
I don't know that you're going to get a different answer, but
Did you see anything from Will Harris and Jordan Howden specifically?
I thought both of those guys did some good things. I think both of them have some qualities that we like, and I think both those guys are going to help us.
Was there anyone? We can't always tell what we're looking at in the special team sessions in practice. Is there anyone
You don't really want me to comment on that, do you?
that we don't know what we're seeing in?
ahead.
I set myself up for that one. But is there anyone that made this team because they really made themselves stand out in that area?
I wouldn't say that there was anybody that just in that sole regard made the team just for those purposes. There were a number of players that I think did some good things in the kicking game that I think can help us in that area. Certainly I think Rico Payton's a guy that I think can help us in that area. And yet I thought he did some good things from a coverage standpoint too. So I wouldn't say there was anybody, I know back when we first brought JT Gray in, he made the team specifically in regards to his special teams ability. And I don't know that was the case with this 53.
And you only have 8 offensive linemen right now. Are we smart to guess that there will be more work and research done?
Well, I would say typically along our offensive line, between active roster players and practice squad players, that number's probably ranged anywhere from 10 to 12, players. So I don't get too into having to have a specific number of players at each position. Certainly there's you have to have enough, but I think it's more about managing your roster and the right 53. How do we get the right guys for the practice squad, and how are we able to manage all those aspects to put the best team out on the field?
How about Grupe over Smith? Was the inside the 50 kind of the consistency kind of the deciding factors there?
Yeah, I think so. I think both those guys did some good things. And look, I like Blake Grupe. I think I thought this last year. I think it again this year. I thought he, when he's gotten in the games, he's made the kicks that he's needed to make. I think he's been consistent in practice, and I've seen an improved player from even where he was at this point last year, and so I feel very confident about that.
Anthony Orji goes from being a guy practice squad last year to making the roster this year. What did he show you that led to that decision?
Yeah, I think just an improved knowledge of the system. I think improved play. I think last year his head was kind of spinning a little bit, and I think he's much more comfortable in what we asked him to do. his ability now to, I mean, he played all three linebacker positions. He was much improved in the kicking game, you know, so those are the improvements and the things that you hope you see from these young players. You hope you see improvement from year one to year two and then into year three, and hopefully those things will continue.
So the final preseason game that he only played Mike, if I remember correctly, was that a specific decision based on snap counts and not being able to move him around?
Well, no, I think anything you saw in the last preseason game was probably more of a reflection on who we decided to play or who we didn't decide to play, and how it was best to play in that game.
What are like the next 18 hours like for you guys, just as far as like looking at what other teams did and comparing them to?
Yeah, so I would say primarily what's happening right now is our personnel department's been hard at work, and this has been going on well before today, but they're hard at work on we're reading all your reports on who gets released or not released, and we start doing the work on those guys, and then I'm assuming, I don't know if I've even seen the final report, if that's even come out yet in terms of who was released. Those guys will identify guys that they feel like might fit something that we'd be interested in. And then as coaches, we'll take a look and see if there's something that became available, whether it be through claim, a vested player that was released and is now free. I mean, those are all the things that we'll do throughout the course of the night and into tomorrow morning. And on top of that, we're beginning the process of getting our initial preparation ready for Carolina.
Jordan Mims is another player that you kept. Can you speak to what you saw from him throughout training camp and preseason?
Yeah, look, I think he's an improved player. I thought he did some good things for us. I thought he ran the ball well the other night. He's been a guy that's been able to do some things in the passing game. So, I was pleased with the progress that he's made from where he was when we picked him up after Buffalo released him last year.
You guys had 4 undrafted free agents. I'm just wondering kind of what you make of that.
Well, I think a couple things. I think, I'd say, kudos to our college scouting department that was able to go out and find these guys. They had some sort of quality that we felt like we could develop. And so I think those guys did a nice job of going out and finding those guys. I think our coaches did a nice job of developing them. I see where some of these guys were when they first walked into the building, and quite frankly, some of them I didn't really think would have a chance, and they just continued to work and continued to improve, and ultimately they did enough to get through this initial first round of roster moves, and we'll see how the rest of the week shapes up.
I think Holker and Payton too are both 24. Is there something about maybe that added college time or being older that kind of maybe helped ease their transition?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think generally guys that stay in college a little bit longer, they have an opportunity to mature a little bit more. They're a little bit more pro ready from a mental maturity standpoint, more so than anything else. And so, I think those things are beneficial.
And just non-roster cut down question.
Thank you.
Like Taysom Hill just turned 34. Obviously, we've all seen what he can do playing all the different positions. And just from your perspective, the things he's able to do physically at this age, how rare is that? Just his body, what he's able to do there.
Going down a slippery slope right there, but no, look, I mean, I don't know. I mean, how many football players have you guys seen that are like Taysom Hill, that do all the different things that he does? I mean, it's certainly, obviously, very unique. But And I'm glad we have that skill set on our team that we can, hopefully continue to be creative with how we want to utilize him. And really, honestly, hopefully we can get maybe even a little bit more out of him than what we've been able to get to this point. I mean, there's a lot of different things that he can do. And I think I said this, probably at least a couple weeks ago, just the excitement that I have to see this player through a new lens and different things that he can do. And so I think it'll be fun to see as the season starts, the different ways that Clint and the offensive staff can utilize this player, because I think he's unique. And I think the one from a physical standpoint, I don't see a declining physical skill set at 34 years old. I see still a very good skill set in terms of what he can do and how he can help us. Okay, guys, thanks.